we know, that all of you by now know that are in the LifeWave community, that we put a tremendous amount of time and money into clinical studies so that when we make a claim about our products, you can rest assured that there is clinical research that we're doing behind all of this. And we are way above 80 clinical studies now that we've done over the last 20 years to substantiate and validate our products. And this would not be possible without an amazing group of scientists and medical doctors that it is an absolute privilege and honor for me to work with. These are some of the best scientists in the world in their field. And when we're looking at new products like the sprays or we're looking at the patches, many times we have to come up with entirely new protocols and techniques to evaluate them because previous techniques didn't exist. So, for example, when we're looking at monitoring copper peptide levels, either AHK or GHK, we had to develop, working with a PhD in California, we had to work on developing protocols to measure those peptides in the blood and then develop a process where we would collect the blood from participants, freeze the blood very quickly so the peptides wouldn't be compromised, and then ship those off for analysis. So these were some things that we had to innovate and develop. So there is a tremendous amount of work that goes into these studies. So I'm honored now that I get to introduce one of the scientists that we work with who's going to share some discoveries that we've made about our products with you. So Dr. Caitlin Conner, and I need an entire page because her list of accomplishments for a young woman is unbelievable. Dr. Caitlin Conner holds a bachelor's degree with a dual focus in political science and anthropology, a master's degree in acupuncture and oriental medicine from Arizona School of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, and a doctorate in acupuncture and oriental medicine from California Institute for Integral Studies, American College of Traditional Chinese Medicine. Dr. Conner's research training began in high school in a special program at the University of Arizona, where she was mentored by Dr. Gary Schwartz at the Laboratory for the Advances in Consciousness and Health in the Department of Psychology. Dr. Conner was the ICEEM 2011 gold medal winner of the Rustum Roy Emerging Scientist Award for undergraduates. In 2014, the Bernard Grad Emerging Scientist Silver Medal winner for graduate students. Now, this to me always blows me away. She was at the University of Oxford, and Dr. Conner has recently completed her training there in health sciences research, and out of 20,000 people that applied for a research program, she was selected out of that 20,000, and only 20 people made it into the program. That is impressive. She is board certified through the American Alternative Medicine Association. She's an assistant professor at the Ikame University in the Department of Complementary Medicine, and she's a principal investigator and member of the award-winning team at Earthsong's Holistic Consulting. So please stand and give a warm LifeWave welcome to Dr. Caitlin Conner.
Hi. Really good to see all of you. Okay, so we have some pretty interesting results, and just as a heads up, some of these results we actually got on Tuesday at about 10 at night, so David hasn't seen all of them yet. Should be a nice surprise. All right. There we go. Thank you. So we're mostly going to be talking about the research on X49. We do have a little bit on aromatherapy as well. That study is still in progress, so I can't talk too much about it, but we have some fun things. First of all, we have the X49 bone density study, which was just done on women. It was to determine if the LifeWave X49 patch supports bone, tendon, and sinew health in women ages 40 to 80. There were two groups. We looked at X49 by itself and in combination with X39. There were a total of 20 participants, and measurements were taken at baseline, at 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days, and 60 days of wearing the patch. Osteoporosis has become a major public health problem. As the average population age is increasing, it's beginning to affect a greater portion of the population. And unfortunately, at this point in time, while there are medications available to help with it, there are a lot of unfortunate side effects, and a bunch of those side effects are actually stopping people from seeking treatment. So there's a limit to how helpful they are. AHK is the peptide, the tripeptide, that X49 increases production of L-alanine, L-histidyl, L-lysine copper. And it has a documented impact on a variety of different areas in the body, specifically skin, hair, and bone. So it was a logical progression to look at its impact on bone density. We knew it had an impact on bone. We did have a couple of challenges going forward with the study. A DEXA scan was determined to be impractical because of the scheduling and the frequency that would be needed to do a research study. You know, we have 6 data points. That's a lot of DEXA scans to put someone through in 2 months. So we looked into alternative methods of testing for changes in bone density, and what we found was serum NTX. We also looked at the AHK itself, amino acids, and hormones, so we could develop as clear an understanding of the effects as possible. During the study, the participants were asked to have a minimum of 6 ounces of leucine-based foods each day, and we did a food diary reviewed on a weekly basis to confirm participant adherence. Just a heads up, we did have trouble with that. A lot of people were not getting a sufficient amount of leucine. Keep an eye on that. We also did the metabolic analysis of the amino acid panel and the peptide analysis in the blood with both AHK and the NTX. So, bone goes through 2 different phases. It's a cycle. You have osteoclastic resorption and osteoblast bone formation. So you have the outside of the bone getting removed as it gets, there's wear and tear. So it gets removed, and then you get new bone formed. NTX is released during the cleavage of bone collagen by osteoclasts. So it's released during the breakdown. What you want to see is a decrease in NTX because less is getting released during the breakdown phase. Does that make sense so far? Okay, good. Little history on NTX. It's been found to correlate specifically with changes in bone loss because it is released by that process. In urine, it's been used to index changes in bone density since at least 1994. I don't think I found the earliest use of it, but I did find it at least that early. Unfortunately, its utility in urine is dependent on dilution levels, so the amount of water that the person's drinking makes a difference. It's matched using creatine, but in the urine. But if people have been drinking too much water, you're going to wash out pretty much everything at that point. Fortunately, it's also found in blood and has been shown to also reflect changes in bone density equally well. That study was done in 1999, so it has a fairly long history. So we went with serum instead of urine. Now, the important thing here to remember is NTX is directly tied to a decrease in osteoclast activity. It's directly tied to the breakdown in bone. Less bone loss means there's less bone to replace. So what we saw in this study was a significant decrease from baseline in AHKCU, indicating an increase in utilization. And a significant percentage of subjects showed a over 30% decrease in creatine levels and NTX in the post-intervention time points. Now, what that means is less than 30% means that they're not losing bone. Pretty much everyone had at least one point where they weren't losing bone in that 2 months. Yeah, maintained bone density better. We also saw a significant decrease in hydroxyproline at all of the post-intervention assessment time points, and it's mostly used as a diagnostic marker in bone turnover. We weren't even looking for this. It was just in the amino acid panel. The combination of these points strongly suggests that in this study, X49 decreases the breakdown of bones during the cycle of bone repair. Now, there is a slight challenge here, which is how long the actual cycle is. It's significantly longer than 2 months. We didn't get the whole snapshot. In addition to the direct bone results, we saw 14 amino acids change production levels at significance over the 60 days. And they were distributed between the catecholamine, serotonergic, glutaminergic, and transsulfuration and histidine pathways. So they're pretty much in every pathway. They're not focused. They're having a very broad effect. Now, a couple of important points. This first one's just fun. We had 3 individuals in the study who actually did have density scans during their participation in the study. Now, these are multiple years apart. They're standard scans. They did show a slowing of bone loss and an increase in bone density in areas that had previously been compromised. They are multiple years apart. It's possible that's due to other things. But it's really cool. Thank you. Do keep in mind, this is a wellness product. It's not a medical product. However, it does have significant potential to be used as a support to bone health. It's also important to repeat the study is both a double-blind, larger sample size, longer duration, especially given the length of the bone cycle. Doing one that's the full length of one would be really, really cool because we could figure out all of what's going on during the different stages. That would take a while, though. But if you could monitor the whole process, that would be awesome. So, men's strength study. This is the part we got on Tuesday. So we were looking at whether or not the LifeWave X49 patch supports muscle growth and physical fitness in men ages 40 to 85. We had 2 groups, again, looking at X49 by itself and X49 in combination with X39. Again, we had 20 participants, and measurements were taken at baseline 24 hours, 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, and 60 days of wearing the patch. And AHK has, a broad variety of impact in the human body, including on muscle, so it seemed like a logical trend. So we did a physical assessment on day 1, and then we did midpoint at day 30 and at the end at day 60. A custom exercise plan was designed after baseline. So we were looking at people with a broad variety of different states of fitness, and the exercise plan was tuned accordingly. We also did custom nutritional and meditation consults. We did physiological measures throughout at every data point, and we did questionnaires. And we did the metabolic amino acid panel, which consisted of urine and saliva. Missed saliva on the slide, sorry. Taken at baseline, day 2, day 7, day 14, day 30, and day 60, and we did peptide analysis for both. That's a typo. We did AHK. We did not do NTX for the men. So, why does this matter? What is the impact of physical fitness? Researchers found that 8.2% of Americans over 50 did sufficient cardio and strength training exercise. Now, to be fair, some of that is because they are focusing on one and not doing enough of the other. It's the combination that only 8.2% of Americans are getting enough of over age 50. But up to 5 million deaths a year could be averted if the global population was more active. And that's according to the WHO. So presumably they've done some looking at this. 8% improvement in cardiovascular fitness with high-intensity exercise was shown over 6 months, 24% over 9 months, and 17% improvement in maximum voluntary isometric strength. That's basically how strongly that person can flex their muscle after 12 weeks, just to give you an idea of how much improvement you expect just from exercise. We got 31 to 70, depending on the measure. It had an impact. There was a statistically significant increase in the calories burned while biking for 3 minutes by day 30. That's the midpoint. That's not the end of the study. That's the midpoint. There was a significant increase in the top speed while biking for 3 minutes by day 30 and by day 60. Both. And a significant increase in the distance biked. Now keep in mind, the people who are doing this, most of them, we didn't give them exercise bikes. We didn't give any of them exercise bikes. Some of them had their own bikes. But exercise biking wasn't part of the fitness plan. It was just part of the assessment. So they weren't training this. Thank you. So this one's a little bit weird. Most of the time in research, you're looking for a significant change. Sometimes what you're looking for is for the absence of a significant change. In this particular case, older age is associated with a decrease in exercise efficiency and an increase in the oxygen cost. So as you age, you run into breathing problems. You run into oxygen saturation problems when you exercise. Your O2 saturation goes down. We saw no change in the oxygen saturation. None. So, specific exercise outcomes on things that they were actually working on. I've talked about p-values before. Can you guys stick your hands up if you've heard those? Okay, so most of you haven't. P-value is basically and not B because of the intervention. So what you want is a p-value that's less than 0.05. Smaller is better because it's more likely that it's due to the intervention and not something else. Look at those zeros. There's 3 zeros in all of them. Sit-ups, squats, bicep curls, resistance, grip strength, which I don't have a reference on here, but is directly tied to longevity. Okay. On aromatherapy, this is risks after 1 month of the application. As you can see, there are no adverse events, at least on these 2 people. There are more people. So far, we haven't seen any, but I'll keep you posted. Early data at this point in the study. Again, it's not done yet, so we'll see continuing. But so far, it does appear to increase the sense of vitality. It makes people feel better, more positive during the day. It's easing them into a relaxed state so that they can fall asleep more easily, and it seems to be easy to use. So far, that's all of the comments I've gotten. A couple of comments directly from participants. Doesn't make you fall asleep, just relaxes you so that you can. On the morning one, didn't make me wired, I just got more things done. I thought that one was fun. This particular person wakes up in the middle of the night. I'm sure a lot of people run into that. I've started running into that. It's not fun. And they reapplied it the first time. They haven't continued doing that. Study design. But they reapplied it when they woke up in the middle of the night, and they could actually go back to sleep. Turns out that helps with sleeping. It smells great. Smell isn't overwhelming. A lot of aromatherapy products are too strong. This one wasn't. And we have a bunch of references. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can we get can I get a mic check? 2 seconds? Oh, there we go. Okay. Can we get a round of applause for Dr. Caitlin Conner, please? I hope you see by her presentation and all those zeros that just go right over my head as a marketer that it really validates our products. David really takes extra care and caution to do our clinical studies, and it absolutely is what differentiates us as a business is the hundreds of patents and clinical studies that we have on our products.